Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Profitable Private Practice Podcast. And today with me, I have Dr. Meghan Tierney. Hi, Dr. Meghan.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm so glad you're able to be here. This is going to be a fun episode. So, just so we can get started, could you please give us a 60-second introduction of yourself, just so people can get to know you a little bit?
Yeah, I am Dr. Meghan Tierney. I am the founder and CEO of Sorrel Health and Wellness here in Seattle, Washington, where I help women in midlife navigate menopause, perimenopause, and metabolic health challenges with a very weight neutral, self-compassion approach.
All right, that's amazing. And I do just want to throw this question out there a little bit. It's been something I've been interested about while kind of going through your social media page. So, if there is one myth, like in the medical part that you could debunk, what would it be?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think it would just be that that there's a right way and a wrong way to be healthy. In the sense that I really think that health is about what you value and what your goals are. And while one person, they may value having six pack abs and being able to run an ultramarathon, another person may value, being able to go on a hike with their family and, maybe eat a chocolate chip cookie every once in a while. And so I feel like it's really important to me that people feel like health is not this impossible thing to achieve and that it's really
Mm.
based on, what you care about.
What you care about. All righty.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive right in. One of the questions that I like to ask is, where did what was your first thought of becoming an entrepreneur? And as I was going over some of the questions that you filled out, one of the wins that you mentioned was that you went from being laid off to opening a practice within 4 months, which is
Yes.
absolutely amazing. That is, I saw that and I was like, whoa. Like, wow. So could you just walk us through, that whole process? Like, how did you feel in the beginning with getting laid off? What made you, keep going and start a practice rather than you, completely giving up on medicine and, healthy living?
Yeah, I sometimes when I think back on that, I am also surprised. I was really shocked. I had been with the company I was with for actually through residency and all of my attending career, so
Wow.
about a decade, and I was given less than 30 days notice from when I was told I was being laid off to my last day. And in those 30 days, it was also my birthday. And I had already planned this trip to sort of go away and, sort of like reconnect with myself. And during that time, I was just like, well, what am I going to do? Like, what's going to happen? And I had already sort of like been playing with this idea of starting my own practice, but that felt like years down the road. Like, I didn't feel quite ready.
Mm,
And then I just was like, I think it's now or never. And I really, honestly, I think about being laid off as being a blessing because it was a pretty cush job in the sense that I was being paid and I didn't have to think about all the things that go into being paid. And I think it would be very easy to feel never ready to start my own practice, because I think you are never quite ready, to take the leap. And so I feel very blessed that I sort of got pushed out,
mm,
and sort of made me make this big leap. And, yeah, I just realized like, here's my opportunity to practice medicine the way I want to and realize like how unhappy I actually was in this very cush job. Yeah, and then I just made it happen. I made the steps. I made like a checklist of like, what are all the things I need to do to be able to like see my first patient? Because I think sometimes when we think about like, how do we do this? We start going from like, oh, I'm just going to see a patient to like all of the complex systems that you feel like a practice needs to have. And in reality, you just really need as much as you need to see your first patient. And
mm.
it turns out that's actually not that complex.
Not that
And so when I
complex.
made it more simple and made that checklist for myself, it felt doable. And then I don't know, following my checklist, I made it in 4 months. And so,
Wow.
yeah, I surprised myself, in doing that.
That is amazing. So essentially, you were given the push to kind of live your dream business and your dream life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow,
Yeah.
okay. And so in between that time of, you getting laid off and where you had started your practice, what were some of the key turning points that led you to, starting your practice, some mindset shifts that you had to make?
Yeah, I think for me, I am truly an introvert, like not just shy, but also, while I love people, I kind of need to have a little break, and I feel nervous around
Mhm.
showing, like being in front of people. And I think it's also sort of this idea that I what if it were a magical world and I could have it the way that I wanted, I would make whatever I wanted to make over here and then I would show it to the world perfect. And I really had to get over the idea that there was perfect and that I
Mm,
could make something perfect. Um, and that I had to sort of iterate in the public, make mistakes publicly, make a decision and see what happens and then change my mind and do something else, or learn from something that I chose to do, but do it in a way that everybody could see what I was doing. And I really kind of had to get over myself, sort of get out of my own way, and realize like it actually wasn't that serious. Like people make choices and decisions and make mistakes and move on all the time, every day, every second. And my mistakes aren't that important.
mhm.
Even in the moment, they feel very serious.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of the universe, uh, I can make a mistake and just keep going.
Mhm.
And that has been really helpful in these beginning months, because it's a lot of learning and a lot of doing things a little wonky and weird and learning, oh, there's a better way to do this,
Yeah.
and feeling okay with that.
Wow, okay. And then so in getting, to where you are, you're in the early months. Could you talk about some of the challenges that you've had to face and overcome?
Yeah, I think my first big challenge was actually pricing myself. I think there's a lot of mindset that goes into that. It's very weird to put a price on your time and your skill level, even though through the years someone has been paying me for my time and in time and skill, but for me to choose like what that
What that
was,
pricing would be.
yeah, and then be confident about it and be able
Yeah.
to sell myself, is just like a whole other level. And so I really struggled with that in the beginning. And then I think really finding like what my voice was in the space, and what my like who was I serving and how was I going to speak to them, especially because I am talking about topics, especially around weight management, where I don't like to use the words that a lot of other people use. Like I try not to use the word obesity. I try not to talk about weight loss. I try to have a very weight neutral approach to weight management, which sounds crazy. But it makes it very hard to communicate my way of practice. And so really challenged in how do I use the English language to really portray the way that I care for patients. And that has
Mhm.
really been evolving as I talk with patients and as I make marketing material and all that stuff. And then finally, it is really, it's really hard when you grow slowly. In the beginning, it's a lot of like hard work and trusting the process.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, you tend to not see as much movement necessarily. Like, I think there are lots of people who like right out of the block, they are like, it's on fire. But I would say the majority of people, it's like a slow process, and you have to sort of do all the work and do it even though you're not seeing the return immediately, because work
Mhm.
I did just a couple months ago, I'm now seeing the effects of.
Yeah.
And so that trust the process part is really hard.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
And something I hear Dr. Una say a lot, especially in like EDS classes, is that like the work is working. Yes, you don't see it now, but it's definitely working. You'll see it in the future. You may not see it now, but which is why you
Yeah.
don't want to give up on it now because you will see it, soon enough. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that faith is really hard. That faith in
yeah,
the like, because it's like faith in yourself and faith in what you're
and
doing.
what you're
And
doing, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's good. So then, with the entrepreneurship that you've recently stepped into, what it has been a surprising opportunity per se that entrepreneurship has opened up for you?
Yeah, I never thought I would be into speaking. So I have a theater background, which you would think like I would immediately think speaking would be something that would be a part of my work, but I did not anticipate that. And it turns out that one, I'm pretty good at it. Two, people seem to like when I talk to them, and it turns out they'll pay me for it.
Wow.
And so I think that was really surprising to me. And that, yeah, I didn't, I think it's very hard to have the confidence that you are an expert sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
When you have, especially when you've been in a big practice where you're sort of like a cog in the machine, you don't realize like you have something special to bring and that someone will want to listen to you talk about something you're passionate about. But it turns out that's definitely not the case.
Wow. And so could you one of your wins was that you secured paid speaking engagements within 10 months of opening. And so obviously there's a portion of visibility that comes within that. So could you talk a little bit about how you made yourself visible to the point where you're getting paid speaking engagements and you're getting clientele for your practice?
Yeah, so it sort of went two ways. So one was I maintain an Instagram account and I did start a YouTube channel, although I have not been very good about it recently. That's why I'm on my first hire. I'm hiring a team here. Um, it's there's a lot of work to be done. But so I had started this YouTube channel and my husband actually works for this really large company, and he was just talking about like what I do. And one of the people who heard about me looked at my YouTube channel and just really liked the way that I was explaining things. And
Mm,
she happened to be the person who worked with one of the ERG groups, and she was like, "I would love for you to come and talk to women about perimenopause and menopause." And she just like
wow.
really loved the way that you talked about this. And there's no, if I didn't have that out there for someone to watch me talk and watch me explain things in a way that felt good and comfortable to them, I don't think that that would have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other one was I literally posted about this walk I do on the weekends. I walk around a park near me, and it's free to come and just like walk with me and ask questions. And someone saw that and went on a Facebook group and reached out to me, and she was doing this, she wanted to do this event that included someone who had a women's health background. And so then this has created, not only was it a speaking engagement, but is now maybe creating like a second business with these two other coaches. And so that's an unbelievable opportunity that just came from me putting my name out there and my way of being. She was just like, "Oh, this is a cool thing this woman is doing. I want to get to know her better." So
Yeah. So
yeah.
now, if you could tell someone about, the importance of being visible, seeing from, how it's benefited you, what would you tell that person?
I mean, I would say that one, it feels terrible to start. There's like no way to feel, again, no way to be ready. You're probably gonna suck, and you're gonna suck until you keep doing it. And that it is again one of those things where I didn't see. I mean, I started that Instagram account last summer. And that YouTube channel was like December or October maybe, and then I was just in the last couple months has this started happening. So this is one of those things where you may not see initially. You feel like you're posting these reels or these YouTube videos and nobody's commenting, nobody's saying anything. You're not getting more followers or likes. But that doesn't mean that people aren't seeing you and
Mm,
making a decision that you're someone that they want to know more about or potentially work with in the future. So again, it's one of those like, it's going to feel really uncomfortable. You still should do it because it's going to
yeah.
pay off.
Because it will
Yeah.
pay off in the future.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the business school. You can kind of start from the beginning. So how you found out about the business school, what pushed you to join. Let's do all of the details.
Okay. So I had actually been following Dr. Wuna's podcast for a while, like probably about 2 years. And a friend of mine was already in the business school, Dr. Meghan Mello.
Mm,
And I was when I got laid off, I was like, I got to figure out how I'm doing this. And at the time, there are sort of different ways of going about making this happen. You can do it on your own. You can find someone that's going to tell you all of the the nuts and bolts of starting a business, like how do you make an LLC and how do you do this and that, the very cookie cutter checklist sort of
yeah.
thing, which is helpful. But what I found, what I really needed, because I was making this jump from, a capitated employed system to starting my own practice, was I really needed a lot of mindset work. I needed someone to help me believe in myself, and help me see how I could take my idea and not just m- make it exist, but make it thrive and make it something that I love, which is, I think, is a very different way of looking at starting a business, at looking at entrepreneurship. It's not just about making a business, but it's also about what it's like to be in that business, what it's like to create a team or create an environment in which you want to practice medicine, which is, I think, has been so much more valuable to me, as I've struggled through the beginning and felt frustration and sadness and confusion and just enjoy. But having a group of people, and Dr. Una sort of guide that has been invaluable, really.
Wow. So then with
Yeah.
the opening of your practice, so did you join EBS before you started your practice?
Yeah. So I think I was laid off on March 4th, and then my last day was April 2nd, and I think I started April 14th, maybe 15th, somewhere around there. I was like,
Okay.
let's make it happen.
Yeah, okay. So you were quick,
Yeah.
you were quick with it. Okay, so then
Yeah.
with the opening of your practice, could you talk about in what ways did the EntreMD Business School, whether it be something Dr. Una said or the community, how were they able to help you in, opening your practice and start achieving things like that?
Yeah, I think there are sort of two things. One, it's sort of the showing me what it's like in the beginning. So I have found it incredibly helpful to see some of these amazing doctors who are doing like incredible things, really like really out there, really, making money, being very successful, doing lots of just really amazing things. But hearing their humble beginnings,
Mm,
their small beginnings, is really helpful when you're feeling like, oh my God, this is never going to work.
yeah,
It's so helpful to see that process. And then two, it's having people who have had that experience tell you it's going to be okay. I think it's really, sometimes it's hard to hear that from someone who just seems like incredibly successful and has never had to struggle a day in their life. You just don't believe it. It's hard to believe. And so that has just been incredibly helpful. At the business makeover mastermind a couple of weeks ago, I got a lot of that. I tracked people down. I was like, tell me about the beginnings. And I heard about like one room offices and like upstairs in an old house clinics. And it really sort of like, it was like, okay, I'm on the right path. I'm doing the right thing.
mm,
I'm in the right place. And then also people lift you up, right? So people in the group have recommended me to people, have had me on their podcast, have just really, it feels like it's not just, I think this is a hard thing to find in on one, in groups with entrepreneurs, and two, in groups of doctors, which is everybody can be ambitious, everybody can be competitive even, but not competitive with each other. Like I feel like it's a group where everybody wants everybody to succeed
yeah.
in any way they can,
Mm.
and the amount of help and time that people have given me has been incredible.
Incredible, yes. And so you
Yeah.
mentioned the Business Makeover Mastermind. And, it was great seeing you there. I was like, I've seen Dr. Meghan Tierney, but I've never seen her in person. So that was my first time seeing you in person. So
Oh
that
yeah.
was awesome. So could you talk a little bit about your experience at the Business Makeover Mastermind? If you want to share some wins that you got from there, you can do that as well.
Yeah, it was really great timing because I was just starting the process of looking for a virtual assistant. Like I said, I've run out of hours in the day. And
Mm,
so I really need some help. And I was feeling really nervous about what that looks like to bring someone on, especially when I was feeling like I sort of need someone to figure out what their job is with me. I mean, I have an idea, but also I need
mm,
someone who's going to be iterative in their job. And it was so helpful to have like really hands-on conversations about what it looks like to manage team, like how to, talk about KRAs and KPIs, which is, first of all, those are acronyms I never heard of prior to last year. So I may sound smart, but I literally just learned these things in the last few months. But really, like, breaking it down to here's my spreadsheet that I use to talk to my team. Here is, I was talking to one of the other physicians about how they had been looking for someone similar to do the kind of similar work that I was looking for. And they were telling me some red flags that they had or some problems that they had getting someone to do those particular jobs and what to ask for and what to try. Essentially giving them sort of like a little test job to see if they can do the job. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
yeah,
And so, yeah, it was not only the hands-on stuff, which was all great and really actionable stuff I could do. But I left feeling, I don't know, invigorated, really ready to go. Like I was making plans on the airplane. And so it just felt like I was like, I am going to hit the ground running as soon as I get home. And
mm,
I did. And I found those times when we get together, to be, yeah, like so energizing. Yeah.
that's amazing. Now, since you've started your practice and, also with as long with the speaking jobs that you've gotten, can we talk about, your top three, let's do your top three tangible and intangible wins that you've experienced?
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, the starting my business, is definitely a big win. And not getting beaten down by the experience of being laid off.
Okay.
I also, um, from this is a new win, which we've been working on newsletters this month in the business school, and I actually grew my newsletter by almost 20% from one talk.
Wow.
And so I feel like that feels pretty successful.
That's a big one.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, that's a big win. And I have, let's see, I think I have increased my like patient numbers essentially from um, Q3, 4 of last year. If you combine that to just Q1 of this year, was like 125% increase.
Wow.
So while it felt really slow last year, it's really been picking up.
It's been picking up. Wow.
It's been picking up, yeah. And yeah, I mean, the intangible wins are that one, that I feel comfortable jumping on this podcast with you. It feels like, like I don't think this is, if you were to ask me this time last year if I was going to be doing something like this, I would have unequivocally said you are crazy. There is absolutely no way, absolutely no
Yeah.
way. And I think actually the joy I have in talking about these things and putting myself out there and seeing that it's fun to talk to people, it's fun to talk about these things, and I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it until I actually let myself come out of my
Come out
shell.
of your shell.
Yeah. And then I think it's really, I feel so empowered to make the life I want to live. Um, and feeling not like the victim of other people's decisions. Like I may be
Mm,
the victim of my own decisions, but that
yes.
feels that feels so much more okay with me. Uh, and I feel it gives me sort of hope for my life because I feel like I'm like the architect of my own life in
Mm,
a way I wasn't before. And so that's been pretty amazing.
wow. That is awesome. I love that. And then so if you could say something about the Entre MD Business School, about the community itself, that you would want someone who is a little bit on the fence, about joining the business school. So it's like one thing that you would say, kind of to convince them or to push them to the other side of the fence.
Yeah. Um, I think I honestly go back to this idea that this group of people, this kind of caliber of person, this physician that's ambitious, and competitive and smart, but kind and supportive, and collaborative, that is an incredibly rare environment. I keep trying to find something in person where, like some, other groups that are like that, and it just like doesn't really exist. It's just very hard to find that combination. And when you do find that combination, it forces you to be better, right? Like both in being ambitious to think bigger than you ever thought possible, but also it also shows you how great it is to help other people and support other people, and
Mm,
how much that really fills your cup too.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I think it's such a rare environment. And I absolutely would not be where I am right now if I didn't have these group of amazing people, who I can text and ask really potentially dumb questions to, and who can tell me that I should do this or that, or give me advice about decisions that I'm trying to make that I've never tried to make before. And
Mm.
so that just feels incredible.
Yeah, that's good. And
Yeah.
then, one thing that I've heard a lot within the business school, and Dr. Una says it a lot, is that she wants, all of the doctors to not only have their dream business, but to also have their dream life. And so, like, we know, like, you're in the, starting stages of your practice, but in what ways have you been able to experience that?
Yeah, I mean, I get to be in charge of my schedule. I get to say when I'm no longer answering questions, from patients during the day, and that's just part of my practice. I That is absolutely not something that I felt in my previous job. I felt overwhelmed with patient communication, to be honest, but now I have so much ownership over that,
Mm,
and it feels more enjoyable to see patients because I get to say that I have hour-long appointments and not feel rushed. And I get to have a relationship with patients, which is why I went into family medicine in the first place, was to like know people's stories, but it's hard to know a person's story in 15 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really brought back sort of the joy in medicine for me. Besides that, I'm still going on spring break with my kids, right? Like it's not like I'm not doing that. I'm still keeping the space for taking my daughter to her doctor's appointment, and
Mm,
going to a dance class, and making space for that, because again, I'm in charge of my schedule and I get to choose.
you get to choose.
And yeah, exactly. I don't want to build. I think Dr. Una talks about this a lot. Like, don't build a business you hate, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to start out from a place of stretching myself to the point that I don't like the business I'm creating. So,
Wow. I have never heard that phrase before, and I love that phrase, to not build a
yeah.
business that you hate. That is a very powerful statement right there. And then now, if you could say something to a private practice owner who is, they're feeling challenged, or maybe they're in the starting phases, so they don't know about this, don't build a business that you hate. And so they're kind of in that space where, they don't technically understand what it is that they're doing. And so, they're feeling challenged. They're feeling, okay, well, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. So, if you could say something to that person, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think I would say two things. One is that again, I think Dr. Una says this too, which is like there will be valleys and there will be mountains,
Mm,
right? And you can't have a valley or you can't have a mountain without a valley.
yeah.
And when you're in the valley, it's hard to remember that there's going to be a mountain.
Mm,
And that's where that sort of faith comes in. But also, what's so cool about entrepreneurship, is that you get to make decisions that change the trajectory, right? Like if something isn't working, if something is not the way you want it to be, you get to be the boss. You get to say, like, actually, that does not work for me. I'm going to change it. You are not stuck with anything. You can make different choices. It may feel scary. I think, like, I've made some adjustments. Like, I've changed the way my pricing structure and my practice structure in just the short time I've been open, trying to find what works for me. And I think, like, that can be scary because you're making those changes, those decisions, and they're very out there. And it feels like people are going to look at it and be like, what are you doing? Or did you make a mistake or whatever? But nobody cares. Nobody's looking and everybody wants you to succeed. Right. And so just
Mhm.
make those changes so you're happy and you don't feel like you're suffering. Yeah. And also ask for help. I think sometimes we get into this place where we think people don't want to hear from us, that we're struggling. And I think that's like far from the truth.
Wow. Yeah, I love this, especially the ask for help one. I know something Dr. Una had the people in the ABS business school doing was that she would do, okay, so you have to do a big ask. Like for this week, what is your big ask? What is the thing that you'll be asking somebody? So in this case, I'm going to be asking you a question. Where can people find you? So they want to get to know more about you. They want to get to know more about what you do. Maybe they want to get in contact, with you for the speaking things. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so my home base is Instagram at Meghan Tierney MD. And then, my website, sorrelhealthandwellness.com. And you can always email me at hello@sorrelwellness.com, especially about speaking engagements. Yeah, I love to hear from everybody. I love to answer questions too from business owners, people starting out, people who are scared, because I think like I was definitely scared and I'm definitely happy that I made this choice.
That's amazing. And I'll make sure that all of her information is in the description. And so now for our final question, if there's anything that you want someone who listened to this episode, if there's anything that you want them to take home from it, what would it be? Give us a quotable quote.
A quotable quote. Wow, pressure. I mean, I would say that the most important part of becoming an entrepreneur, the foundation of entrepreneurship is actually building community. And whether that's community where your business is or the community of entrepreneurs and other people that you surround yourself, I think that that is absolutely the foundation for success.
Mm. And speaking about community, if you are interested in joining the business school or if you're on the fence about it and you have questions about it, I want to invite you today to book a call. So you can go to entremd.com/success. Something that Dr. Una says often is that EBS is here to serve you. So you have any questions, you don't know whether or not the business school is the next best step or whether it might be PPPM, you can book a call. And what will happen is that you'll have the opportunity to speak with someone on the team. And so they'll just walk you through what your next step will end up being. Just so you hear a lot about this community today and you want to get to know more about it, then I want to invite you to book a call. So entremd.com/success to book your call today. And to Dr. Meghan, I just want to say a very big thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. This has been a very amazing episode and I've loved hearing your story and everything.
Well, thank you for having me. It was awesome to talk with you today.
Thank you. Okay, and then to everyone who is listening, remember that we don't want you to keep this podcast as your best kept secret. So if there's something that you learned here today, whether it be from how Dr. Meghan, got laid off, and then within that she started her own practice, and that's something that spoke to you, and you believe that it was something that can speak to another person, I want to invite you to share this podcast episode with someone else. Do not allow this podcast to be your best kept secret. And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.